Mother Knows Death, starring Nicole and Jemmy and Maria QK.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mother Knows Death. We have a lot to go over this week. Of course, everything we can't bring you on the Mother Knows Death podcast, we cover in the gross room. So make sure you check out the latest posts, articles, and YouTube live episodes that we have in there. On today's episode, we're going to get into Kim Kardashian's low brain activity and the dangers of competitive eating. Then we're going to get into a lighter topic like necrophilia. We'll finish off the episode talking about dancing in poop and who you should call or who you should not call when you find a dead body. All that and more, plus your questions, comments, emails. Let's get started with Kim Kardashian.
All right, so on the show, on the episode that came out last week, Kim and Scott Disick, which is it not weird that she still hangs out with her sister's ex like that they're going and doing these scans together? Anyway, they go to get
I don't know. It's like, I mean, listen, like, these people don't do anything that normal people would do, but it is, you know, their kids seem to be all close and hang out, and it's the kid's dad. So, I mean, they see him all the time, I'm sure.
If I'm remembering correctly, though, I feel like Courtney expressed that she wasn't comfortable with them being so close with him because she's married to Travis Barker now. They have a kid, and her and Scott haven't been together for a long time, and they had issues for a long time. So I don't know. I haven't watched the show in a really long time, so I only turned the episode on to watch this part because I don't feel like the articles always accurately translate the scene, and I wanted to see it for myself. So anyway, Kim and Scott go to this doctor, which I assumed they were going to a neurologist. I was surprised it was a psychiatrist performing this test. But they get these scans done on their brain, and as they're reviewing them, the doctor tells her she has a beautiful brain, not the type to get Alzheimer's or anything, which I just think that's kind of ridiculous to say, because how would you know? This article said she had a low risk of Alzheimer's, but that's not what was said in the episode. He said she didn't have the type of brain to develop Alzheimer's. And then he said, oh, wait, though. You have some holes, which indicates you have low brain activity. And we need to fix this.
This actually makes perfect sense because the frontal lobe of your brain is what controls your emotions and your impulsivity and your decision making, right? Like, that's the part of your brain that could get really affected if you're a chronic alcoholic and you just start making terrible decisions. So that's the only explanation for all of this, is that because when you read the article or the last one or anything that she's been doing for years, you're just like, why on earth would a person go on and say that they have low brain activity in their frontal lobe? Like, why would you tell people that? That's probably a negative. There's a reason for it, I'm sure, because everything they do is calculated, and maybe she's just doing that so if she never passes this bar exam that she's trying to take, nobody's really going to think that she's just dumb because she has like scans to prove that she has a pathology going on in her brain.
Well, I mean, he told her it was most likely caused by her chronic stress levels because of studying for the bar, because of being one of the most famous people on the planet. I'm sure your life is not that peaceful when you're monitored every single moment of your life.
Listen, I don't want to ever say that she doesn't have stress, but I like, boo freaking who.
Well, yeah.
Like, guess what? Listen, like, a lot of people, obviously most people in the world aren't dealing with the level of pressure and stress that she's dealing with all the time. But at the same time, she doesn't deal with what all of us are dealing with all the time, which is money, which is a big thing. Security, safety, all that kind of stuff. Like, her kids go to school with security guards and shit. Like, we get to just send our kid to school and don't have armed guards standing next to our children. She doesn't have to worry about paying a mortgage on one house, let alone 20 houses. Like, that stuff puts a lot of stress on regular people too. So if you looked at any woman's brain that's her age, I'm sure it looks worse, honestly.
I did just think it was interesting because, I mean, I'm sure this was edited out of order from when it was filmed, but she was discussing what appeared to be before the scan, that she thought it was weird because when she's in high stress situations or she's in what a normal person would be in fight or flight mode, she remains completely calm and basically emotionless about it, right? which I just thought was interesting that ended up coming up. And we had reported a couple weeks ago that she got that Prenuvo scan and they said that she had a minor brain aneurysm or something. So
Which was total crap.
I just
All it is, that entire scene was just a complete advertisement for that thing. And if it was bad, they would be doing surgery and treatment on it if it was something that was about to burst and kill her.
Yeah.
It's like, if you looked at anything, and this is the thing, like, you know how many autopsies I've done that you just find random shit that people didn't even know they had? One time I did an autopsy on a woman that was over 50 years old that had a horseshoe kidney. She didn't even know she had one kidney her whole life. You know what I mean? Like, another person died from a heart issue and had a huge brain tumor they didn't know about. Like, you find stuff all the time. So if you do a scan on anyone, you're going to find something. Oh, you have a cyst on your kidney. Oh, that would have been the bit. Like, who cares? Like, it actually would have been more of a story if she had this aneurysm and she had to go into emergency surgery and get it handled because she was about to have a stroke, right? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I just was looking at the whole thing as this is so LA going to this weird doctor's office and getting this scan.
I understand, like, the whole, like, the naked thing and the ass, like, the attention. You look good, you want attention, whatever. I just don't know why you would want attention for having low brain activity.
Well, I mean, there's only so many scenes they could film of them eating salads in their kitchen, so they need something to do.
Do you remember that person that was going viral a couple years ago? My favorite social media videos of all time are ones of people who make fun of celebrities. Like that, who's that one guy that makes fun of Meghan Markle? He's freaking hilarious.
Oh, he is funny.
He's so funny, right? So I think his name's, I don't know. I follow him, but I don't remember what his name is. But those videos are hilarious. Well, there was a girl that was making fun of the Kardashians, and it was so funny. She, in every single clip she made, she had like a salad bowl in one of those plastic containers and was like shaking it.
That's all they do.
And then she would put on these really long fake nails that were like long post-it notes, and then she'd go like that. She did them so good though. It was just so great. I haven't seen them in a while, so I don't know if she's still doing it. But she did the whole like you know, the one sister that's like dead behind the eyes kind of.
Yeah.
She did her, like, oh my god, it just was so good. So anyway, yeah. Let's talk about something.
Okay.
Please.
A fitness instructor was trying to promote his weight loss program by doing this challenge where he quickly gained 50 pounds and then was trying to lose it, but he ended up dying from your favorite term ever, cardiac arrest.
Oh my god. How annoying is that? Oh, he died because his heart stopped. So does everybody else's when they die. Okay, so he didn't die from cardiac arrest, so why did he die? We don't really know because they didn't tell us. But let's think about what happens if you do that and gain 50 pounds intentionally. What was it, 30 pounds in a month or 50 pounds over the course of 2 months?
I think his goal was to gain 50, but he ended up gaining 30 in a month.
Yeah, so here's a list of some of the stuff that he was eating. He would have a breakfast plate of pastries, half of a cake, hamburgers, 2 pizzas for dinner. So obviously he's like, this made me think about when people gain weight for roles for movies, right?
Yeah.
It's done in a very controlled environment where you have a nutritionist and physicians that are watching over you and checking your blood work, and they're not having you gain weight by eating. It's more like a weight gainer they have you have rather than just eating like pure shit, because it's the cholesterol could be so high and make your blood cholesterol go higher.
Yeah.
So he was eating total junk food and gaining weight.
And up to 10,000 calories a day.
Yeah, which is a lot, especially if you're not used to eating like that. But that increase in cholesterol like that is worse for more of a long-term thing. Like, it could damage your blood vessels. It could cause you to get plaques in your arteries. And over time, that could cause you to have problems with your heart and your cardiovascular system in general. But, you know, even when I remember like Christian Bale had to gain weight for some role. I don't remember which one it was, but he said that he was having cardiac effects because of it, and he was in a controlled situation where he was trying to do it as healthy as possible. So there's just lots of different things that could happen, like you because listen, there's people out there that eat 10,000 calories a day. I mean, we've
Yeah,
all
for
seen my
sure.
600-pound life and stuff like that. In order to maintain a weight of that high, you have to be taking in calories that high, right? But when your body is not used to that and you go from eating like 2,000 calories a day to 10,000 calories a day in the course of a month, you're going to have issues with high blood pressure. When your body gets bigger, you get more blood, so your heart pumps more. And then when you get fat, this is one of the things, because everyone says that I'm obsessed with fat, right? Well, it's because it causes a problem on your organs. It causes visceral fat. So if he gained 30 pounds in a month, some of that weight is fat around his heart, which is also causing his heart to work harder. So he probably had like he went into cardiac arrest because his heart stopped because of either high blood pressure or just because of the immense weight that was on his heart just from the visceral fat. Um, Increased blood sugars could have done it. It changes your hormones. Like all of these different things are happening at once that your body's not used to. And also, let's not forget that he was a fitness person, and we don't know his condition before he even started. Like, could it be that he was taking like anabolic steroids at some point? Like, we don't know, which also could have contributed to him having a weaker heart. So, all we know is that his heart stopped. We don't really know why, but obviously doing something like this is a terrible idea just to prove that you're going to put this new lifestyle in like out there on the internet for people to want to buy into. Like, hey, I just gained 50 pounds and I just lost it with this, because that's not even realistic either for a person that's overweight that needs to lose 50 pounds. Like, he's obviously going to lose it faster because he put it on like that. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
just
and
like not an equal comparison.
no, and he seeming like a lot of times people that have issues losing weight are people that have lifelong struggles with eating. So
Yeah,
it's like he
exactly.
clearly doesn't if he's a fitness coach, right?
And if he just, I mean, if he ate like that for a month and then went back to just eating the way he did, he would just lose it naturally. Like he wouldn't
And
even
he's
have
a
to try.
and he's a guy. Like whenever
Yeah,
Ricky and I
exactly.
whenever Ricky and I are like, "Oh, let's go on a diet together." Ricky will lose 25 pounds in like 2 months and I'll be like, "I lost 2 pounds," and we're eating the same exact meals basically with me eating a lesser portion than him.
Yeah,
It's
it
ridiculous.
really is ridiculous because the same exact thing happens with Gabe too. Like,
And it's out the window now. Eggnog lattes are back. So like always
you know what?
focus.
I used to love the eggnog latte until I realized that I think it's the grande size at Starbucks. The
Oh yeah.
eggnog latte is like 660 calories. And then
Actually,
I'm like, I'm never having one of them again.
hold on. It just came out today. I want to see what it says because they haven't had it in a while. And now on the app it has to say what the calories are on the
I mean,
drink, which
it's
is so
basically made with
ridiculous.
heavy cream. So it's like you're drinking melted ice cream
It says
essentially.
a grande's 400 calories. That's so much
That's
for a
actually not it.
coffee.
So is the venti one 600?
The
I feel like
venti's 510.
I wonder if they
But
changed something in it. I felt like it was so many calories that I was so shocked before.
yeah, I
Oh,
don't
well,
know.
that's good. 400 is
Less than you thought.
it's still way too much. That's like what you should be eating for dinner or something. But
Listen,
okay.
my birthday's this week and it's gonna be my treat, so I'm getting one. All right, and another horrific eating challenge: this 32-year-old man died from asphyxiation after eating dozens of live cockroaches at an event at a reptile store.
So this happened a while ago, right?
This happened in 2012. We never understand why these articles just suddenly start
I mean,
populating
listen,
again.
I don't mind because I never heard of this and I'm just like, "Oh, okay, we need like I can't even believe that this is actually real."
I can't either, and so as I'm getting further in the article, it's like 30 people participated in this bug eating contest with hopes of winning a python. And then there was multiple rounds, so the other rounds they were eating different kinds of bugs that weren't disclosed. And then the final round was they had to eat live cockroaches, which were 3 to 4 inches in length. And that's when this guy had a problem. But no other participants
Who would have
reportedly had any
foreseen that?
issues.
So the first thing I thought of before, so his cause of death was that he had aspiration pneumonia, and he had inhaled some of his vomit, actually, right? So and they could see evidence of that. You could actually see vomit in the airway, but also under the microscope. Typically, if it's a person that's eating normal food, you would see muscle cells, like from animal eating, chicken or pork or something like that. Or you would see plant cells if you were eating celery or broccoli or something like that in the lung tissue, which you never should see. In this case, I mean, most people don't eat bugs, but the first thing I was thinking about was just a cockroach in general, or really just trying to eat something that's alive in general and trying to get as much of it as you possibly can down your throat to compete. Is it possible that he put it in his mouth and he put 3 or 4 in his mouth at once, and one of them he didn't chew all the way, or he didn't chew even a little bit, and so you have a moving piece of food in your mouth as well, right? And what the pathologist that did the autopsy said that they saw that there was evidence that it got down past the epiglottis, which is the flap that usually, so there's a flap called the epiglottis in the back of the throat that covers the airway while you eat. And obviously it fails in everyone once in a while, because that's when you're eating and you start coughing and your eyes start tearing because it went down the wrong pipe. That's what people would say, right? So that ultimately was his cause of death. But think about just a cockroach in general. They have that chitin, whatever it's called. That's what their exoskeleton is made out of. And our enzymes in our saliva don't break that down even a little bit. So if you put a piece of bread in your mouth, for example, it'll like melt in your mouth. You know what I mean? If you put a cockroach in your mouth, it doesn't matter if it sits there all day. It's still going to stay 4 inches in your mouth and not break down at all. So you're chewing essentially plastic, right? And then it goes into your GI system. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say if he even survived this initial choking episode, he would have had a huge issue just passing all of those exoskeletons, because our digestive juices don't break them down.
Well, what I was going to ask too is, don't they say that cockroaches could live like a week without their heads or something? So is it even really dead? Is the stomach acid going to break it down?
I don't know. I mean, your stomach acid breaks some of the pieces of it, but not the actual skeleton of it. And if you have one, fine, go to the bathroom. But just think about it as like being a piece of plastic in your stomach, and all of a sudden you ate 50 of these things. Like, it could form a bezoar or cause like an obstruction of a foreign substance. The same as it would if you had too many seeds or anything that's not considered edible. It happens with hair or something like that. Like, it's going to cause an obstruction in the GI system.
I just can't understand. I mean, aren't cockroaches considered like dirty? Like, I don't understand. And his girlfriend was saying that this wasn't the first time he ate bugs.
Well, whatever. I mean, people could eat bugs if they want to eat bugs.
Yeah, I mean, some cultures do eat them, but I just don't understand the desire to eat cockroaches in particular.
I think it's the weirdest part of it is it was to win a free python, and he was going to give it to like his a friend or something.
A female friend, which I was like, that's weird.
But like so maybe that's why he wanted to be like, maybe he didn't have enough to afford to buy her one, and he thought like he would have been cool if he won or something. I don't know.
I can't believe 30 people participated in this, but it was in Florida, which we know a lot of weird things go down there. It's why there's like the whole stigma about Florida man, and there's now a whole show about the weird stuff going on down there.
Yeah, it is really true.
This episode is brought to you by The Gross Room.
So speaking of things happen in Florida, we had a post in The Gross Room this week about another crazy true crime case that's coming out of Maricopa County in Arizona, which we've said on this show, and that this final one made me finally make a post about it and be like, yo, people, what's up with what's happening in Arizona? Is that hot temperature like frying people's brains or something? It just seems like there's so many high profile cases that happen there, but also other ones that are happening too. Of course, the most famous one is the Jodi Arias and Travis Alexander one, right? But
Well,
like,
there's Jodi Arias, Ruby Frankie,
and then
the
it
hot car
wasn't.
death.
Remember that case of the husband that was watching the little toddler that drowned in the pool recently?
Yeah.
That case was in Maricopa County. It's just like every single time it seems like we're reading something, but it's either Maricopa County in Arizona or Florida. So like what's all I could say is that they both have hot temperatures. But that's my personal opinion. But anyway, we had our YouTube live yesterday too, so we do an additional episode in the gross room once a week, and there we talked about different stories that we don't talk about on here. So we talked about the Brian Koberger case. There's a little bit of new information out there that one of the families is suing Washington State University, and also that there was an inappropriate social media post going around with the actors who are playing their dead children on a Lifetime movie. So we got into that a little bit. And of course, we had to bring up RFKJ and filching. That was, it's always classy. And just the Kennedy curse in general, because one of JFK's grandkids just said that she has a terminal illness and she's pretty young. So we were talking about all that, and you can watch that episode live, but you also can go back and watch it if you're interested.
Head over to thegrossroom.com now to sign up.
Oh, God. This
Okay.
is the light topic of the day, necrophilia.
Back in 2022, this couple was about to finalize their divorce, and that's when the husband decided he was going to hide in his estranged wife's apartment, kill her, and then bury her body in a shallow grave in the desert. But the next morning, he decided he was going to go back, dig her up, and he had sex with her corpse. And then buried her again.
Nice.
Yeah, so this case is really disturbing, obviously, and he admitted this all to the investigators, which I thought was unusual.
Well, I mean, when you do an autopsy, you can tell. Because
really?
yeah, because if they're going to do an exam and see if she was sexually assaulted, and then they're going to be able to see if she has vaginal or anal lacerations, tears, anything like that, and if there's any hemorrhage associated with it, so they could tell when a wound is made post-mortem versus before the person died. So,
Okay.
I mean, and of course, if they see any evidence of that she had sex, they're going to do a kit and they'll be able to see that it was him. And if they're able to, they could look grossly and microscopically to prove if the tears happened before or after she died. So, I mean, he could have, he didn't have to admit it, but like eventually he would have got caught with it anyway.
I just thought this was weird, and maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but it seems like he was pretty open about what happened, and they even had this quote from him saying, if I didn't commit to being a monster, then she would have died for no reason. But then he ended up being on trial and was just found guilty and is facing sentencing next month. So I'm confused why it went to trial if he was open about it. But maybe he told them and then decided to plead not guilty. I don't really know.
So one of the most interesting things I learned about necrophilia a couple years, was it last year or a couple years ago in the gross room, we did a high profile death dissection on necrophilia, and it's an interesting subject. I like to discuss things that are just interesting to me. And one of the things that I learned about it, because when anybody reads this article, they're just like, oh God, this guy's like some sick, weird pervert guy. And there's all different forms of necrophilia, some of which is just, I mean, not just, but people having, it usually happens with men, but there's cases of it happening with women, homosexual men as well. So it usually happens with heterosexual males. But, I mean, Jeffrey Dahmer is a good example, did something like that too. So it doesn't always fall into this one category. But sometimes there's cases of it happening with people who were seemingly happily married and the wife dies and it's just because of extreme grief that the
Yeah.
husband will have sex with her. So that could even be the case here if he killed her and then went back because he felt some kind of extreme grief from it. But then there's a sliding scale of just how disturbing and weird it gets. And I'll never forget that speaking of Brian Koberger, I was listening to some um a psychologist or psychiatrist on Nancy Grace's show was talking about that crime and said that she wouldn't be surprised if after he mutilated their bodies that he masturbated right afterwards, because
Yeah.
that's like one of the classes of necrophilia, of just the only way that you could get sexual satisfaction and climax is from doing something like that.
Yeah, and we had been critical of the prosecutor who said there was no sexual nature to this crime because, I mean, just because he maybe didn't sexually assault them doesn't mean he didn't go home and get
Yeah,
off to
exactly.
it later.
Yeah. So there's just like all different situations. So yeah, check, you could just search in the gross room for necrophilia and read all about that. And then I have some actual cases of autopsies where that happened. So and there you'll see pictures of how they could tell dead versus alive and things like that.
All right, so the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade was last week, and as some of the performers were coming up in front of the store, I guess a police horse had pooped in the middle of the street, and they were forced to dance in the poop. This is like little girls, like preteen, teenage girls, dancing in this horse poop. I just think it's so wrong.
It's really it's just like a really weird situation because think about this. If you are a dancer and you're in a dance school and you get asked to dance in the Macy's Day Thanksgiving Parade, that's like a huge it's huge for especially a little kid to have that honor kind of. And you're in a group of kids and you're all just like there's no one stopping you and I guess they just thought like someone wrote that in one of the comments, like the show must go on, right?
Yeah.
Like they just didn't they didn't know not to do it, right? And I would think like if I was 12 years old doing that and I shouldn't have been doing it, that my mom or my dance teacher would have ran in and grabbed me or something. Like nobody stopped it. And it would have been kind of weird to just stop in the middle of the parade. And like we lived when I went to Jefferson for cytology, Maria and I lived in Society Hill in Philly for that year while I went to school, and we had the horse and carriage go by our apartment every single day, multiple times a day, and shit on the street, and it just smelled like horse poop in the air all the time. Some of those carriages now have these like bags that hang under their butt that catches the poop. But I mean, back in early 2000s when we were there, they were just pooping on the street. It was like we stepped in it all the time, just crossing the street and stuff. It was there all the time.
This is my gripe with it, though. Like, they're not performing the entire length of the parade. There's, like, checkpoints, right, that they stop at. So why can't they devote... They said they work with a sanitation crew and they don't know what happened, basically, that allowed it to happen. But, like, wouldn't you think that they could take 1 to 2 minutes to, like, at least push it to the side so they don't have to dance in the turds itself? Like, and I thought they were barefoot at first, but they had those, like, skin-colored tights with the nude shoes on too, you know? So at first I was like, oh my god, these poor little girls are barefoot in this horse poop. They did have shoes on, but then people were also pointing out dance shoes are incredibly expensive. I'm sure you know because we were dances.
Yeah, I mean they are.
Them.
They are, and listen, it's gross, but also there is a risk with it as well because I mean at least they're not barefoot. So if they did have, obviously, if they had any open cuts on their feet or something, you're putting fecal matter into a cut, so you could get a serious infection. And I mean, it still could kind of get in because if it's getting through those shoes and those little stockings, like it could still get into their, like I'm sure when they took their little stockings off, their feet had shit on them still, right?
Disgusting.
So And then another factor that you have to take into consideration is when the kid, because now you're not going into a house, like the kid has to get somewhere to get into a shower and everything. So now you have people and maybe the child or a person helping that's now touching fecal matter. I mean, that's what it's poop, right? It's not as high as a risk as you would say like pig poop or something, just because they eat like, or any animal that's not an herbivore. You know what I mean? Like you would get, you have like less of a risk, but they still carry certain parasites. They still carry certain bacterias. Actually, horse manure is considered a one of the risk factors for tetanus because of even though it's not in the poop, it could be in the spores near the stables where they're at. So I don't know if they considered this to be an exposure. I mean, the good thing is that they're all young, and it would probably only cause a problem in someone that was immunocompromised, like an older person. But certainly children can have autoimmune conditions and be on certain medications as well that they're immunocompromised. But it's not like you never really want your child touching animal poop. I mean, it's just, you know what I mean? You're just like risking it.
It's just gross, and it seems unnecessary that they couldn't have cleaned it up quickly before they showed up. Because
I just think it was like one kid did it and they all looked at each other and were like, I guess we're doing this. And then you have 30 kids stomping and shit and they're like, okay, like let's not make a big scene of this. But I love that
for their professionalism.
I know, right? They're gonna, I love when shit like this happens and like someone just so happens to be recording it and that person was probably like, am I watching this right now? It looks so funny.
All right, so a couple weeks ago, Elliot Siegel, who hosts the DC radio show Elliot in the Morning, was doing his show. Everything seemed to be normal until they got a call from a listener saying that he found a dead body in the woods and didn't bother to call the police. Did you listen to the audio from this?
Yes.
It was so disturbing.
It is disturbing, and I don't know that we've heard the end of this yet because it's very, very weird. And of course, the first person that we thought of was Elvis Duran and his his amazing show and everyone on the show. We were thinking, oh my God, this could totally happen to them too. And how would they handle this? I would just really, I really want to talk to him about this because obviously millions of people are listening to your show. So you just have that out there. But and Elvis has been on for so long, so I'm just wondering if he's ever had another situation where he was like, I better call the police, because I mean, not just the dead body thing, but like anything that anybody could have said, because people do want to get attention from doing things like that sometimes.
Well, we did text this to Andrew and Celia to see if they saw it, and Andrew told us the fun fact that Elliot used to be Elvis's co-host years
really?
ago. So that is such a random part of the story. But this is basically what happened. They got a call from this guy who said his name was Joseph and didn't want to reveal his real name. And his voice was just very creepy, and he was very calm the entire time, which just added to the eeriness of it. So I guess, he calls in and he says he sends the other radio host pictures of something he found. And he's reminding them that a couple weeks before that, they had been talking about a story where a professional athlete saw a dead body floating in the water, and they were wondering how that athlete was able to go play his game that
Didn't
night.
we talked about that somewhere? Was it on our show or in the grocery? I feel like we talked about it.
I feel like that was a cut story.
I don't really know. Yeah, I don't really remember, but I definitely remember seeing that and thinking like, okay, whatever. He saw wasn't it a football player? I thought it was
you know my memory is trash, and
I
I
feel
don't
like-
remember.
I feel like it was a football player, and he like looked out the window of his hotel room or condo or something and saw a dead body floating in the water, and a lot of people thought that would have been so disturbing that he wouldn't have been able to play the next day. And I just was like, okay, big deal. This is Thursday to me, like whatever.
I don't think we covered this really.
Okay,
I don't remember talking about it. Anyway,
yeah.
So he reminds them they had been talking about that story and goes, well, I emailed your co-host some pictures of something I found in the woods. And then all of a sudden, Elliot goes, "You found a dead body?" So this guy emailed them pictures of this body he came across in the woods. And he's just so nonchalantly like, "Yeah, I always kind of hoped I'd stumble upon something like this. And I was a little relieved that it seemed like the person had been there for a couple months. And I think they just died of an OD or freezing to death."
Yeah, I mean, and listen, I wouldn't even have a problem with this if he called them and just said that and even said, I even took a picture because I was so shocked. But the very next thing the guy should have done was call the police and been
Yes.
like, I just stumbled across a dead body. And instead, no, he found it, what was it, 18 days prior?
Yes.
And he
So
never called the police, and the first time he's saying it out loud is to a radio show live on the air. Just like what?
So he called on November 21st to the radio show. So which means he found the body at the beginning of November. And I don't know if you picked this up too, but I think he was referring to the body as Teddy, which is bumming me out even more. So they ask him
Isn't
if he
it like Kevin Spacey in Seven vibes? Like
Yes.
there's just something like that's I don't know why it just made me think about that because remember he would be like talking really calm on phone calls or even when he was talking to Brad Pitt. Like it just like it's like this very like not bothered. A normal person that just stumbles across a dead body is a little jarred, regardless if you thought they OD'd or whatever. Like it's bizarre that his first instinct wasn't like, let me report this to the police right now. And this is what makes me think that there's something much creepier going on here with this dude. Like, was he visiting it? Like, what's happening?
Well, yeah, so they ask if he calls the police, and he said he hadn't, but he had a dream the night before that he did, so he thought he was going to go forward and call them that day. And they were like, "Don't call them later today. Like, hang up with us and call them immediately." So then they start talking amongst each other, like, asking the co-host, "Do you still have that email?" And she's like, "No, I deleted it." And they're like, "Get it back and send it to the police." So, like, they're like, "We need to now take care of this, too."
I feel like this is like a moment in the Fugitive when Tommy, what's his name?
I don't remember.
You know who I'm talking about.
Oh, Tommy Lee Jones?
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about a character.
He's
in the
like
movie.
sitting there when someone's on the phone with him going like this, like rolling his finger, like keep him on the phone so we could get his phone number.
Yeah, that's
You
what
know
it
what I
was
mean? Like, let's see if we could call the cops and be like, we're actively, he's on our phone line right now. Like,
they literally paused him. They were like, "Hold on, we're going to put you on hold for a second." And then they're like, asking about the email. And she's like, "I don't have it." And they're like, "All right, we'll ask him to send it again." So they unpause him and they're like, "Can you send the email again?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah." It was so weird. They seem so freaked out, which I totally understand. Even if somebody's fucking with you, like, this is scary because there are real people that do stuff
and
like
that was my first thought when I was reading it. I was just like, this can't be real. And then sure enough, that police department was like, yes, we found a dead body there that same day when they heard of the story.
So they did end up finding the body there. And then the guy called back and said that the police interviewed him for several minutes, meaning hours, and they confiscated his devices for several days.
Yeah, so this is really interesting to me because I wonder what that radio show had to be involved at some point because how else would they figure out who it was?
I guess, I mean, now that we're recording it, I'm not going to wait, and I should have asked Andrew this yesterday, but I wanted to be like, what do you do? Like, do you call the police? Like, what is your level of involvement after? I do wonder if
do they have a manual handle these things? What's the procedure?
Dude, Elvis has been on the radio for like over 30 years.
Yeah,
I'm sure they've gotten weird calls before.
I am too. And I am too. I'm sure of it. And it might not, obviously, this is kind of like a trophy call for this guy. Like if this guy ever writes a book, this is definitely going to be in one of the top callers. But I mean, I'm sure Elvis has had situations where he's just like what is happening right now? And is this okay that this person's saying this? So I'm assuming that so they didn't say what happened, how the police heard it. I mean, if this guy is syndicated and someone in the town heard it, they could have just called. Someone in the police station might have just been listening and they could have just went. But also, I guess the radio show could have called the police as well and reported it. And they also didn't say the connection to how they found the guy, but they questioned the guy. They said that there doesn't seem to be a threat to the public, which is possible. Maybe it's just a threat to himself because he's a crazy, creepy weirdo. I don't know.
Like, is he just a freak
but
that
they took
stumbled upon it?
They took his devices and checked his devices, and then he said they must not be very good at tech because they had his devices for like 4 days. And I'm like, yeah, they want to see every single thing that you've texted and Googled in the past 4 days to make sure that you weren't we just talking about necrophilia and stuff? Like, you know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, people do weird shit with dead bodies, and it's just, and then aside from all this, we have to think about whoever that was that's dead is a human being that had a life. And just to think that someone would find your dead body there and just not even care enough just on a human perspective to report it so you can, maybe your family that's missing you could know that you're dead, or you could just get a proper burial. It's just completely like there's some kind of line that was crossed there that really is upsetting.
Well, yeah, because I'm like, even if this person didn't murder him, you still just saw a dead person and just like let it be. Like, you just saw a rock on the ground or
Yeah.
something. And then you called in and admitted it on a public radio show.
Like, this isn't a deer that got hit by a car. This is a human being. Like, what are you? It's just so weird.
That's dead in the woods. Like, I just don't understand what the guy was thinking. And then you're going to call the radio, and then it seems like he was annoyed he was interviewed by the police, when it's like, of course you were. All of your actions were so unusual.
And like, I just want to know who this guy is. I want to get him on our show and just talk to him and I just want to know what he was thinking. I'm very interested.
Personally, I don't want to talk to him because he sounded creepy as fuck. And like, I don't want any interaction with that. And I'm also like, now there's an open investigation into this guy that was found into the death, right? So I feel like I won't be surprised if we learn that he ended up being arrested, and this is going to end up being one of those weird Netflix things. Like, can you believe this guy called into the radio show?
I don't think that I mean, I don't know. I don't know the guy. I think that I don't get the impression that he killed the person. But listen, it's possible because he said, oh, they probably overdosed or froze to death. And it's just like, okay, well, listen, when we do the autopsy, we can find out exactly what happened. So you could say whatever you think happened, but listen, there's a straight up possibility that they do the autopsy and they're like, this person was beat to death. This person was strangled. And then, I'm sure there's some footage somewhere of the guy. I mean, like, there's cameras everywhere. Wasn't it near like a tent city kind of thing where there's a lot of homeless people?
Yeah, and the froze to death thing was the weirdest part to me, because he's saying, oh, it only looked like that guy was there a couple of months. Well, it just started getting cold. This was in Frederick, Maryland. So it's only been cold for like 3 weeks in this area. It's not very far from us.
I don't even know if it's been froze to death cold.
No.
Is it? I feel like tonight, actually. Yeah, like tonight they said, oh, you have to watch out because it's raining / snowing around here, and like watch out in the morning because it's going to freeze overnight. But like, I don't even know that might have happened once.
Do you think it was a Freudian slip? He killed this person and froze their body and then dumped them in the woods.
That's kind of a stretch, but
you never know.
There's something up with this dude.
All right, let's move on to your questions and emails. This first one's from Jenna. I'm an OR nurse, and in our small hospital, we recently had a case of fetal demise at 39 weeks gestation. I just had a question about your thoughts on having a C-section and whether this baby would have survived or was likely not to survive anyway. Mom was 39 weeks pregnant with a normal pregnancy, presented to OB clinic 3 times in 1 week with a fever and a, quote, feeling that something is wrong. The nurses and OBGYN assessed, said baby was okay, and sent mom home twice. On the 3rd time she presented to the hospital, the baby had no heartbeat. On the 2nd presentation, the OB nurses communicated to the OR staff of a possible C-section for a patient with chorio. Does that...
Yeah.
Okay. Mom had to deliver the stillborn and ended up in the ICU with sepsis. The doctor who had sent her home is deflecting any responsibility, and the nurse and me is wondering if she had made the call to do the section, would baby be okay, or was this infection going to be an issue?
Well, first, let's start from the beginning. Whenever and listen, like I've never taken care of a live person before, so this is just what I know from working in this field from the back end of when this happens. Whenever a full term, especially full term pregnant person presents with a fever, that should be considered. It's considered usually an obstetric emergency, like because of there's a high probability that it could be chorioamnitis, which is when there is a bacterial infection inside of the placenta, and it's really really dangerous for both the baby and the mom. Um, so if there's documentation that she had a fever and went back 2 different times, and on that second time the nurse actually called and said, we might be sending someone over for an emergency C-section, and then let her go home. And then when she came back the third time, the baby was dead. I personally think that that is lawsuit worthy. I don't know what the outcome would have been, because there are cases where that happens where it doesn't really matter what happened. That I mean, the fetus or the baby when it's born can have a severe infection, and so could the mom. And in this case, the mom, it did go into the ICU with his, I mean, you don't go into the ICU just for them to watch you. You have a serious issue. And she had to deliver a stillborn, which is emotional trauma that you can't ever get back, right? So I think that they were wrong personally. Well, I don't know what made them say you're fine and leave if she had a fever, especially 2 different times. What happens is that you can get an infection in the placenta. You can get it 2 different ways. You can get it from inside, like if you have an infection in your body and it goes through your blood. But the most common way to get it is called an ascending infection, which is when you get it from bacteria that's in the vagina. So the baby is in the placenta, is in this sac that keeps it, the amniotic sac that keeps it protected. But especially during the end of pregnancy, well, it could happen at any time in pregnancy, but that sac could rupture and cause like, it eventually ruptures for everyone, right? Because that's how your water breaks. You can get a really small hole in it, which then exposes the baby to the outside world in a little bit. Like, and the mom might not have realized that the membranes have ruptured, because sometimes the hole is so small that it trickles out. It could almost be like urine, like you might not even notice it. And when there's that hole, then the baby could then get bacteria from the vagina up inside of the placenta, which can then get the baby sick, and it could also get the mom sick as well. It actually happened with Lillian when I had her. She had chorioamnitis when she was born. Or my placenta did. So, but like it happens, and you see it in the pathology lab. It happens. I mean, it's natural, and that's no one's fault. But when the mom is going and saying, I have a fever, and I know she said she felt like something was wrong, like that's not really going to hold up in a court of law, but like documentation of a fever. And I don't know, this is because I don't treat these patients. I don't know if they just say, oh, it's a cold, and like if they did other tests too. Did they do ultrasound to see if her fluid was coming out, or however else? I feel like there's another test they could do too to see if your membranes have ruptured. So if they did the proper procedure, then I guess there's nothing that could have been done. But I feel like that I've seen it before, and I just hate seeing that, because it just didn't need to happen, and it's such a bummer. So I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I know you're an OR nurse, so that didn't even have anything to do with you. But it's like that. It's the same thing working in pathology when you hear these cases. It's like you have no control over it. But I guess I would say for advice, just to be for, I don't really know if you're pregnant, I guess, and you really feel like something's wrong, like maybe just go to a completely different hospital and just screw your doctors and get another opinion. That's all I could say.
All right, this next one's from Erin. I know I'm a few episodes behind in responding to the story, but the story of the lady biting into her ham sandwich and seeing maggots reminded me of this nastiness that I saw over the summer. We were in Barcelona on our honeymoon at a 5-star hotel. We went down for breakfast, and the lunch meat, which was ham and turkey, was covered in fruit flies. They had this net thing over it, and the only fruit fly control was just a waving hand around to shoo them away. Now my husband and I were appalled, but other people at breakfast were eating it without a care. Perhaps avoiding fruit fly covered meat is a cultural difference between Americans and Europeans. But here it actually gets so much worse. We arrived at the hotel late the night before, so we ordered room service. And yes, the room service was turkey paninis with a puking emoji. I have no doubt that we unknowingly ate fruit fly turkey and whatever these flies were seasoning the turkey with. Love your show. Congrats on the pregnancy, Maria. Oh my God.
Thanks for that. Fruit flies are the worst.
They're really gross.
Me and Marie have a funny fruit
I
fly
was
story.
just gonna say, I hope you tell.
So this was before. This is like when I got pregnant with Lillian, and me and Maria were living at Gabe's house. So Gabe had his own house before
We moved in with them.
Before we moved in with him. So we moved into his house, and wasn't it Thanksgiving? I feel like we were the kitchen cooking Thanksgiving dinner, and there were like thousands of fruit flies around, and I was just like, I don't.
It was a couple days after Thanksgiving.
Okay, so I knew it was around this time of year, so I was just like, why are there so many fruit flies around? Like, where are they coming from? This isn't even, because I feel like fruit flies are like, at least around here anyway, they seem to be worse in the summer because you have like fruit on the counter and stuff. And I'm like, I don't even understand what's happening. Then I finally realized that they were like around the microwave. Like the whole kitchen was clean. Like I just didn't understand. So I moved the microwave back, and there's like a full bunch of bananas back there that are pitch black. And my first instinct,
mummified.
They were mummified. And my first instinct was to pick them up. So I picked them up and like, by where they're all attached, and they all just fell right off of it because they were so rotten. And like all of these flies were like coming out of the pile. And I was like, okay, well, that makes sense.
Well, can I just speak to like typical man house not making sense? Like he had all this counter space, and the microwave was like angled in the corner. So there was that big space behind the microwave, and they fell back.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Well, whatever. His house was pretty nice for a man house.
It was. I'm just saying there was like questionable.
It wasn't decorated.
Choices.
Yes, there was a lot of questionable choices, but it wasn't the worst. It was like a semi-bachelor pad, not 100%. It could have been made more homey, but
all right,
we just decided to get a different house.
The last question is, do people point out your Philly accents?
Yes.
Quite often.
All the time.
Yeah.
So my next door neighbor, Nicole, she sent me a video. I forgot to send it to you. You know how there's like these people that do like their aunts and uncles and stuff?
Yeah.
Like talking. I don't know what this particular person was called. I was just cracking up because I was like, this sounds like one of my family members talking. It's so good.
I would say your accent's pretty strong, South Jersey accent. There is slight differences between like the area we live, Philly proper, and then Delco has the worst accent. Which if anybody's
Northeast Philly is worse than Delco.
Northeast Philly does have a bad accent too. If anybody watched that show Task on HBO, it's the Delco accent times 1,000. Like everybody doesn't sound that thick, but it's influenced by it certainly. And me and Ricky were just talking about this the other day because Louis actually has the worst accent out of all of us. And I think because he doesn't talk that much, you don't pick it up. But when he does talk, I'm like, holy shit, he has a super thick South Jersey accent.
See, I don't even notice because we all have it. No,
Yours
I
is
do know.
bad.
I noticed. Yeah, but Ricky has Delco. Like the Northeast Philly one, it's because some of my older cousins like have it. It's just like whenever I hear someone talking, I think about like my dad's side of the family Christmas party. Like even if it's not them talking, I'm like, this is what it sounds like, because a lot of them live in the Northeast.
Yes, and something they say in particular up there is instead of saying almond and salmon, they say almond and salmon.
I know.
And
They have a lot like eagles.
Yeah, Pop-Up says eggs when he says eggs.
Well, he doesn't say anything right.
He doesn't say anything right. Some people say wash instead of wash. I feel like something I have that's a problem is I say milk, like milk.
No, you know what?
Okay.
You know what Andrea's favorite one was? She said, my friend Andrea is a PA too. We used to work together for a couple years. And she was from upstate New York. And when she came here, she would make fun of some of the stuff I said. And one of them, I was like, oh, we were doing some project in the lab. And I was like, oh, we got to go to the store and get crayons. And she's like,
oh, yeah.
She's like, what? And I was like, crowns. And then she's like, what are you saying? And I was like, crowns, the things you color with. And then she's like, well, what do you call the thing a king wears on his head? And I said, a crown. And then she said, say them both. I said, crown. I feel like Yi, one of my students, Yi, was from China, and she, oh my God, this is the best story ever. She says to us, like, so her last name was, I don't want to say her last name, but it was pronounced Zhang, right? And then Zhang, like that. That's how she said it. So then she said she's getting married. And then I said, what's your new last name? And it was spelled completely different with like X's instead of Z's and stuff like that. I said, oh, how do you say it? And she says, Zhang. And I said, how do you say your original last name? And she said, Zhang. And I was like, it's the same thing. And she's like, no, it's different. She kept saying it's different. I'm like, no, sounds the same. So it's the same as mine, crown and crown. They sound the same.
There's just a lot of words people say here that are just so off. And I just feel like the general use of malapropisms is all over the place. Nobody is ever saying the right word or phrase for anything. It's something very specific to the Philadelphia area, and it's so weird.
I love it.
Well, we're used to it. All right, guys, if you haven't noticed, if you're not watching our YouTube channel, we are wearing some new merch. Show off your sweater.
Oh, yeah. Let me.
So
Listen, I'm glad we decided to upgrade on the sweatshirts and the hoodies and the t-shirts with the better brand, because this is so cozy, and I got it 2 days ago, and I've already worn it every day. It's going to be like my new everyday shirt. It's so cozy.
Yeah, everything's super soft because we care about you guys and we want you to be comfortable. So the blanks for most of the clothing is Bella Canvas, which is very soft and it fits very nice. Print quality is very nice too. So we have all this new merch up on thedoramatershop.com. You guys can find a discount code in the description of this episode or the description on YouTube. That's going to be active for the next couple weeks. So happy holiday shopping. Please put your orders in ASAP because they're print on demand and they take a little longer than normal. If you have reviews for us, please head over to Apple or Spotify, leave them there, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you have comments, questions, and not concerns, please email them to stories@motherknowsdeath.com.
See ya! Thank you for listening to Mother Knows Death. As a reminder, my training is as a pathologist assistant. I have a master's level education and specialize in anatomy and pathology education. I am not a doctor, and I have not diagnosed or treated anyone, dead or alive, without the assistance of a licensed medical doctor. This show, my website, and social media accounts are designed to educate and inform people based on my experience working in pathology so they can make healthier decisions regarding their life and well-being. Always remember that science is changing every day, and the opinions expressed in this episode are based on my knowledge of those subjects at the time of publication. If you are having a medical problem, have a medical question, or are having a medical emergency, please contact your physician or visit an urgent care center, emergency room, or hospital. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Mother Knows Death on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks.